Hi, Grace Kika, how are you?
Hi.
How are you today? Are you okay?
Fine.
When you're sick?
I am mature.
Oh, that's a nice one. Are you saying mature people speak like that?
No, I am saying I do not want to create the wrong impression.
Okay. Tell us
Anyway,
more.
tell us more.
Okay, yeah.
You want to finance that lifestyle?
We also wanted to be mature, like and talk like you. Okay.
Hi guys, good to have you here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the feedback. Keep letting us know what you want us to talk about. Yeah. I will keep teaching Percy so that he can keep teaching you.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah, keep it up.
Alright, so part 3 of necessary endings.
Necessary endings. My God, here we are.
May attack generations hapa, my friend.
Gen Z. Always about you are an alpha.
Yeah, alpha.
Gen Z, millennials. How to end things.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing. People think that you just wake up and live. My friend, you try. You try, waking up and living. You go forward and you're like, wait.
It can get hard.
You start getting, especially if you are attached, like zile emotionally attached to that situation or the place or the person.
Yeah.
Oh, it can be messy.
I feel like when you're actually doing it, it is okay. Then after the time that comes after, ndio unaanza kujiuliza maswali.
Yeah.
Like I remember for me when I resigned from work, it was all good and beautiful because I think I left. My last day was like on a Friday, so Saturday and Sunday was really cool. Guys,
freedom.
I resigned. It feels like hey, that Monday, kirock ya depression kilinigonga.
What happened that Monday?
That Monday they can hit. For so many years, I woke up and I knew I'm waking up to go to work. So for a Monday, we weren't discussing what are you doing on Monday. It was very clear that if I'm getting to the office on Monday, I need to get to the office. We need to have like, there were specific meetings we needed to attend, departmental meetings, follow up on stuff. So Mondays were pretty clear. Like the whole week is laid out. Hey, that Monday. So initially when I woke up, I was like, kumbe siendi job. Nikarudi kulala. Wacha niamke nishangae saa watu wanafanyanga nini sasa nye hawaendi job. Let me tell you, that evening, kuna mtu tu alinita tu akanipeleka to dinner like, by the way, utakufa ukiendelea hivi. Because now when we're talking about, I'm like, yeah, didn't you make the decision to resign? Yes. Weren't you very sure about your decision? I was. Sasa ni nini? I don't know if it was a good idea. Why? Sasa nifanye nini?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like when you end something, the reality inakuja catch up na wewe baadaye. Yeah. Same thing with relationships.
Yes.
Mna end leo and you're like, it was toxic, I'm out. Then ghafla bingu 2 days later.
You start missing your toxicity. The arguments, the fights. Yeah.
You actually just want to hear that person talk to you.
Yeah, and insult you. The insults.
Like if you have a point, please tell us.
Not a point. Like, have you ever asked yourself why people stay in very abusive relationships? Why they keep staying and not ending?
Minajua we stay for the kids. That is the official why we stay statement.
Not really. Yeah, I know that. But also, easy relationships, there are no kids.
Yeah.
But like some years back, this lady calls me. No, actually, she didn't call me. Someone called me on her behalf. And this guy says, okay, there's this lady, I want you to meet her. She's going through some difficult moments in their relationship. So I'm like, okay, I'll meet her. So then we meet. And this lady tells me, she's dating this guy, and for the first time, the guy hit her. So it's me, I probe, like, okay, so hit you, like, what do you mean? How did it happen? Where were you? Only to realize the guy didn't just hit her. He actually really hit her, beat her up.
Whoa.
In public, usiku around 2 a.m. They were both drunk, I think, or something.
Bro.
So then the lady the following day brings up the issue and she gets slapped. Like, it was almost like control. Now the guy is trying to get control.
So guys, I know you can't see what is happening where we are, but I am packing my things and leaving on behalf of this girl.
So I talk to her and I tell her, and do you think, so now she's at that point, does she leave, does she stay? And I tell her, you know what, in my honest opinion, I think you need a break.
Okay.
Because I notice she doesn't want to leave, but she
knows
she's supposed to leave. She knows it. So instead of telling her leave, I told her you need to take a break and have a sober mind to evaluate issues.
Anymore use you need to take a break.
Yeah, like take a distance, take some time off, like 2 days, think about the whole thing. Because the truth is, this guy will hit you again. He will beat you up again. So after that, so I followed up like 2 months later. So what happened? That he changed. I decided to stay with him. 2 weeks later, he hit me again. So now she starts inboxing me almost every day. Yesterday he did, yesterday he said, yesterday he did. So, I got to a point I told her, you know what? I don't think you're ready to leave, but you need therapy, professional therapy. You need to talk to someone. And I can't be the person you're talking to. So that is what has brought the question. Why do people find it very hard to end the bad stuff, especially in a relationship,
Toxicity is addictive, Bana.
What is addictive?
Toxicity.
Toxicity is addictive.
I don't know, sometimes it feels like just because, again, I think goes back to the topic of attachments. Because you're attached, it almost feels like I can't lose this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something like that.
It's the fear of beginning again, I think, for his relationship. If I lose this,
some of us have biological clocks.
Oh my God. Oh, you have biological clock.
Jesus.
You're looking at there's a
Save
clock.
this generation.
Oh yeah.
There's a clock somewhere. So you're thinking, how do I do this? Especially for people who've really invested that time.
Yeah, in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because then they think if I leave this, I'm going to start a fresh one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone
you know
worse.
what I want to say, to start a fresh one. You haven't even met the next person.
The next person,
yet.
You're still stuck here. You're part of the next potential.
Exactly. So ujipe to just calculate. If I get hurt now, we have been dating for 3 years, then I get hurt, and then we break off this relationship. Nipatie 1 year ya kuheal. 1 year ya kutafuta prospects. Na kufanya vetting process.
Okay.
And then tuanze talking stage.
I know. So that's how many years now? 3 years.
So you're telling me I have another 3 years of working on things, because again, you don't want to get into a relationship when you're still hurting. So you're saying I need to give it more time. Of course, it's not set cast on stone that it will be 3 years, but basically what I was saying is that time that you need for you to reset, get back to factory settings, and then continue with life. Sometimes it can really have
I hear you.
Go through that. So today we're actually looking at the balance of how to know what to balance, because of one thing that came up in the previous discussion that we had, that the discussion here is not ending. You just don't go ending everything.
Yes.
How do you identify what is necessary to end?
Okay.
What are you looking at when you're saying, I think this needs to end, so that we don't find ourselves in the situation that you were talking about, that una end kila kitu niangalia vibaya nimeresign you didn't reply to my messages, it's done. You didn't, so that we can just not be that petty, but also know that there is a line to be drawn. There are times when it will be necessary to end, pack your things and go, and there will be times when things might not be looking very good, but you can still stay and hang around and fix it.
Why do people do that? Now before you go to that other nini, why do people end things just for the sake of it? Like kidogo, they have snapped, they have ended it.
I don't know.
What could be the?
I don't look at it this way. And I would base this solely on stories that we have heard from our mothers and our grandmothers. In the past, it feels like leaving wasn't an option. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
It almost feels like, and not just even in marriages and relationships, but even in jobs. Like, you would have someone who has worked at a place, unasikia, our employee of 25 years, you're like, yeah. That is my whole lifespan, you know. You know, so you would, I feel like in the past, again, with things evolving, the conversations about having the freedom and the liberty to choose what you want have become very popular. So conversations like necessary endings are becoming more popular. So it's becoming easier to realize with time that, kumbe living is an option. Why not take the option out?
I know. Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I
also think, yeah.
You think so, right?
I also think peer upbringing, like how guys are raised, they have, so it's like a coping mechanism, whereby, like, maybe someone was raised from a tough home, tough dad, tough mom, so they developed your coping mechanism of blocking. So they block.
We block us.
They block us. So anything, and yeah, they're like, whatever is really, if they see that someone is about to stress them, they block that person and they leave. It's better for them not to be there.
Yeah.
In that place, than to be there and actually face whatever is being brought.
We're also not very confrontational, to be honest. You know, you're just like, So if the best way I can deal with you is just blocking you.
Yeah, they block. You find watakula block. They switch. They block you on their phone. Because of some silly things, but they were not trained enough or well enough to actually handle emotional turbulence. You know, or those things that can cause emotional turbulence. They are not prepared for the world, because the world doesn't care how you are raised. The world doesn't even know how you are raised, you know?
I think it becomes also a coping mechanism, because it is interesting how, if we look at one situation, you can get two characteristics of people coming out of it. For example, if, let's say, you were brought up in a home where your mom was being battered, it is possible to come out either way. It's possible to come out when you're like, the day he will look at me and I notice his eyes are red, I pack and I walk, never to come back. Then there is someone else who's like, but I saw my mom do it. Wacha nibaki. That makes things very complicated.
Yes, how we are raised.
Yeah.
Critical.
I hear you. So for guys, those who are joining us for the first time, I am Grace.
I'm George.
And we just love sitting and talking. So we have had this conversation. This is the third conversation in a series we're calling Necessary Ending. So if you're just joining us, you could probably start from the first one, the second one, and then the third one. And then feel free to share your feedback. Leo tunaongelelia ili mambo. But he kept throwing jabs at generations. And he kept mentioning that while we're talking about things that really need to end, we need to find the balance so that you're not ending everything carelessly. And that is what today's conversation is about. So, twende kazi.
So, what do you consider, like, when you're about to end things, what to consider? So we have said necessary endings, it's part of life. It's part of growth. Things will end, relationships will end. Sometimes you will initiate the end, or the end will happen on its own.
Or it will be initiated by someone else.
Or someone else will leave you. You know, I was talking to some group of boys.
Someone else will leave you.
I was talking in a boys' school, like over 1,000 boys, and I was telling them, guys, you'll be left. Get used to it. You'll have heartbreaks. It's the journey of a man. Like, there too. So anyway, I think some of the things to really consider before you actually say, I need to leave. You have to consider vitu kama personal values zako, and how you feel. Like, what is the relationship, or what is your value? What does this relationship make you feel? For example, if someone came to me and offered me a drug, you know,
we need to raise concern about your examples.
Let me say, for example, Grace here, she's my friend, and then she comes one day and says, hey, George, you know what? You need to test this bank. Then I'll have to really, really look at her and like, Grace, my personal values are saying no. So if you are walking into that direction, I'm not walking into that direction. And I'll be like, nope.
Example, your drugs.
So I'm gonna say,
I am being persecuted.
I'm gonna say no. And hopefully, if I try to convince her to stop, taking drugs, and she doesn't stop, then I'm gonna have to initiate a necessary ending.
Personal values. Yeah, I agree. I think an example that comes to mind now that you're talking about personal values, ni kama ukiingia relationship, and then over time you realize that the things you stand for and the things the other person stands for are constantly at loggerheads. So, for example, you differ on matters religion, you differ on issues finances, you differ on you're on two different pages. Those are some of the things you look at and you're like, okay, this it might feel sweet and yummy, but with this person, we do not see eye to eye on things that I find to be major. So let me give an example. If you're getting married to a person who their view of what family is not the same as yours, and for you, probably family is core.
Yes.
Like family is it, like you have built your life around family. For you have come to an understanding that these are the people God gave me, I never chose them, and we're in this together. So through the thick and the thin, we have to work it out. And then you meet someone else who, whatever their story with their family is, they are at a place where I don't care about family. Never tell me about family. It will never work. Because chances are they are with you not for the long run. They don't see themselves doing a family with you. That would be a place where you'd actually be like, hey, Appa, it is necessary to end this.
Yes. So imagine discovering that when you're already married.
I am packing and I am leaving. I am packing and I am leaving.
But
I hear you because now in marriage, I feel like that is why it's better to have these conversations when you're still dating. Because then in marriage, this is a different conversation. God, God is now.
That's not a reason to break your marriage. That's not enough. You get my point. Like,
what a podcast here. What is enough to break your marriage?
No, the Bible says what is enough.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But then I hear you. But then that would mean that's a difficult marriage, because then you got into it and your core values are already done. So if it is a relationship, that would be a place for you to actually know. I think tuneza friend zone.
Yes.
We do not necessarily have to cross that line, because then the future is going to look like what?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, personal values, and that makes sense. I think for me, one of the things that, again, we need to consider, especially if you are at a place where you have many people depending on you, is the impact that your decision is going to have on loved ones. In the sense that when I was single, I thought like a single person.
Alone. No consequences.
And I feel,
and
I feel like that's one of the things that people in our generation need to know, that while it might be easy to choose that, nitapata kazi ingine, nitafanya hivyo, you can do it now. But what happens when you have kids in school, when you have, for example, if you're a man, when you have a wife who is looking up to you for provision and protection, what happens when maybe even at home, mumeanzisha project? Because let me tell you, tukipata kazi, we suddenly become very, very wise. So you have started, and then you're like, now, so for that reason, ma'am, fanya hivi, take a loan, I will pay it.
Yeah, I know. My goodness.
You know? And then she puts her name there, and she's like, no, for my child, na amepata kazi. And then you're the kind of a person who, the boss just, you came in late and the boss looked at you vibaya, and then you walked without really thinking about the impact that this decision is going to have on loved ones. And I think it is one of the godly principles that even as we're making decisions, we're not just thinking about ourselves, but about even the people that God has placed in our lives.
I know.
Because they will be affected by our decisions, directly or indirectly.
You know that example you've given? I know someone, or I've heard of someone who did that. So she gets this job. I think she was getting paid like 80K. 80K is not a lot of money when you have a family, but when you're alone, it's a lot. When you're single, I mean, like 80K.
God, where were you when I was single? Where were you?
80K, that's a lot of money
when you're single, for sure. That's good money.
So this girl goes, buys her stuff, a 50K bed, what, a lot of stuff that maybe next time we'll talk about money and how to handle all that stuff. But then she tells her mom to move from where the mom stays to a better house.
Which is not a bad thing, really, in and of itself. Take care of mama.
And she tells her mom, go get a 10K house. I think the mom was living in a 2K house. So go get a 10K house, mom. Now I'm going to take care of you. So the mom, her instincts, they're like, if I go to this 10K house and then my kid doesn't pay, will I be able to pay? I can't. So the best thing to do is to move to a house that in case this child decides not to pay, I can actually, pay myself. So the woman moves to like, I think a 4K or 5K house.
Let us just take a minute to acknowledge the wisdom that woman had, because the way I would have packed into that 10K house. I know.
So the moment the mother moves, this girl doesn't send money that end month. So the mom calls, oh, you said you'll send money? And she's like, no, you should stop depending on me. I mean, I'm your child. So you what? And now she talks like insulting her mom. You shouldn't be calling me for money, mom. You should have planned your life, kitambo, when you're still young, what. And she talks a lot of trash. So and I've seen young people who've done that to their parents. And you see, that is not fair. That in my, like, that's so when you brought that topic, I was like, oh my God, yeah. And I think young people need to know it's not fair. It's better to send money to your mom. Don't move your mom or your dad. Don't tell them move from here, go there. No. Just send them money.
Let them decide what they want.
Yeah, let them decide what they want. If you have enough cash, if you have all that kind of money.
Unless you're building for them. And even then, if you're doing do it in consultation with them, not as the...
Maybe they don't even want you to build.
Yeah.
Maybe they are comfortable where maybe all they want is food every month. Like just be very... Anyway, consider it. But that's impact on loved ones.
For sure. Wow.
I hear. That's an interesting point. I think that one is...
I hear you, because I think we rarely... it was one thing that my friends and I tell each other is that your decisions affect me.
Yes.
Like whether you like it or not. And I feel like for especially people who have struggled with wayward siblings or wayward parents or wayward relatives, you really understand when I'm saying that your decisions, they do not just affect you, they affect everyone around you. So in the long run, even as you're maneuvering, growing up, and as you're finding that I need to end this, I need to end that, be very careful to consider, how does this affect the people around me? And we're not asking what will they say. That's a very different question.
Yes.
We're saying, how will it affect them? For example, if kama ni job, for example, imeisha because they were retrenching people, one of the things that would obviously stress you is, how do I then continue taking care of my loved ones? So the same way, when you're choosing to stop, in the back of your mind, you have considered, how will this impact my loved ones? There's someone who was giving me a story, and one thing that stood out for me when they were sharing their story is they were like, they felt at some point that God had told them to, and it was very specific. He was like, not God had said, he felt an impression in his heart that it was time to resign and get into ministry full time. And he mentioned that at that time, where he was going, he really didn't know who to talk to because he was still new. But at that point, he went back home, Ushago, and talked to someone who was really close. And then he said at the time his dad had already passed away. So he talked to his mom. Why? Because as a firstborn, not only was he taking care of his mom, but even of his younger siblings. And they had that conversation with the mom. Interestingly, it says his mom was a woman of faith, and she was like, if that is where you feel God is leading you to, then do it. So in this case, when these people are sleeping hungry, they're not thinking, we have been forsaken for ministry. But you know, they understand the journey that you're walking with God. And now it is not about you, but about pointing everyone else to Jesus. That really stood out for me.
I know. Because then this was other issue here. Like, okay, tumetumia the ideas of job imeisha. Then there's this other idea of there's a business you're running. Okay?
Business people be listening and having the time of their lives, then boom. Wow.
But then the business is not really working and you have a family.
Yeah.
Like at that moment, you look at the impact, your decision to continue running this unprofitable business, what impact is it having on your loved ones, opposed to you getting a job? You get me?
So guys, I will allow.
Because if they go and get a job, the impact will be different. You don't want to sit there with your kids or your wife or your husband or whatever, asking for things, and you feel as if they're insulting you because they're asking because you can't afford. And you have an option of trying to get a job. You get my point?
Yeah.
And because this is
strategizing
to get
back into the business.
Yes, because then you can take a job for a year. Okay? Because then this job will give you some level of financial stability. Then you put some money kando, and then you revive or you go back to your business a year later. And at that time, it will be profitable. Okay? So it's like a 1 year of doing something different just to stabilize financially as you put some money aside and even as you also make networks.
Yeah, and because
you can run your business part-time. That's the other idea. And then you focus on this job for the sake of your loved ones. There's also that. Necessary endings. This business is not working, so for me this is a necessary ending.
It will need to end. It doesn't. And I mean, people will say you failed, and sometimes you will feel like you failed at it, and it is okay to fail.
It is okay. Yes, it's okay to fail.
It is okay to fail. And Scripture says that 7 times a righteous man falls, 7 times you rise again.
Even if they think you failed, they are not feeding you. They are not with you at home. They are not seeing your kids hungry. So let them say you failed. It's up to them. It's their problem.
For sure.
You are the one with your kids at home.
No, your accountability even before God to your loved ones is not something we can assume as Christians today. That makes sense. What? Okay. Hey. Sasa tunaambia watu nini? Do you end or do you not end? No, we are saying you end what needs to end.
Yes.
So you just don't go ending everything. And also it would help you in just being able to figure out, even as I end it, how do I maneuver it? All right.
Yes.
Okay. Something else I think you need to consider is the long-term consequences of what you're ending. Some things that you end in terms of long-term consequences might not have much to what comes to mind is, you remember when we were in school, especially in like high school, and we used to be told, especially when you're in Form 4, because you know somewhere unajua this is coming to an end for sure. So kuna kamanga fulani being in Form 4, and then they're like, as you end this, kumbuka kuna vitu zingine zinafaa kuanza. So as you go through your Form 4 and you're feeling like you're the kingpin, you end up making decisions that would affect you. For example, like in Kenya, where your KCSE is a big deal to some extent. it ends up messing you up moving forward, and then you have to work probably twice as harder as you would have worked if you had probably managed that season vizuri. So if you went through an expulsion, a suspension, and then there's some gap years in your CV, and so every time you go to an interview, it is something that constantly comes up, and it's throwing doubt on your character and all that. You realize it's not really worth it. So you can just end whatever it is, and as you end it well, considering the long-term consequences.
Yeah, because I remember when we were in high school, the same thing example we used, we were this class that was, I think, the notorious to this day. Like, you know those guys who hold record of being notorious.
All I need to know is what school it was, and I will have every data I need on you.
No, I'm not about to expose my high school. So there were these guys who did stuff that landed them in jail. Immediately, like, you're done with your exams, you're like the cops are waiting for you. You come out of class and you're taken to jail because there's a case you have to answer, and the school has opened a case against you. There were like 5 or 7 guys, and I tell you, it was terrible for them. Because now you see they have to start answering these cases. Some of them were charged with attempted arson. They wanted to burn the school. Oh, it was terrible. I don't know where those guys are right now. But it's not a beginning you want to have.
Yes, for sure.
Then you get into jail, and then there's a case going on. So all your fingerprints, everything. Like, you will never do anything meaningful in your life. When you're applying for there's these things, I think American embassy visas and all those things. When you're applying, they always ask, have you ever been arrested for a crime? Have you ever, there's this thing. So you're there, you're yes or no. So you're like, okay, if I say no, I'll be lying because they'll check. So you say yes. What was the nature of the crime? Then now you start. So already by the time you are feeling that, by the time you get now to the embassy, they're like, no, we can't have this.
They're already it's already casting doubt on your on your character. I think it's important whenever you're ending things, don't just think about the now or the feeling of gratification that you would get now, but be able to think about what are the consequences in the long run, and how will it come back to bite me. So I keep saying this. My dad used to tell me this when I was a small girl. He used to tell me, as you make your decisions, Grace, be careful not to grow a tail, because one time you will want to sit down.
Where? Wisdom. Tell you. Hi. That's a nice one.
So later, Nika realized for him, he was saying there are mistakes that you can make, and you'll realize this also with time, that with time, there are mistakes that will cost you, and there are mistakes that you can, it's just like a slap on the hand and then you're good to go. So he would tell me, like, be careful as you're making these decisions. Some of them you will make them, and then when you're actually ready, for example, I have interviewed people who on their CV, they worked at X place 2 months, X place 1 month, X place 3 months, X place 6 months, X place, and through this conversation, I'm thinking, so what happened in job number 1? What happened in job number 2? What happened in job number 3? And now you're here. Is it possible that all these employers have a problem? So you're constantly looking for jobs, and sometimes the people employing you might not necessarily tell you, but they will look at your CV and just be like, this one might have a problem. Or even if we take this one on, we're not counting on them staying for a long time.
Yeah, I know. Yep. Necessary endings.
Yeah, I hear you. So consider the long-term consequences.
Yes.
Well,
those are major. Yeah, and most people don't really think about those things. They don't see that far. They just make decisions. Then later on, things are, going down the drain.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. All right. I think just to end it, be keen on assessing the pros and cons.
Yes.
I think as Christians, we have been called to live our lives in wisdom, seek understanding, And part of exercising that would be weighing your options, sitting and thinking through, and sometimes even write them down. What are the pros and what are the cons? So that as you're ending this, what is the advantage of ending this bad habit? And what is the disadvantage of ending? And then what is the advantage of keeping this relationship versus the disadvantages that would come with keeping this relationship? What is the advantage of staying at this place of work versus the disadvantage of staying at this place of work? And I'm saying this because I have worked with young people, and there is one line that I keep hearing people say, and I'm just like, you be careful. People who say, mimi kuna vitu siwezi kaa hapo nisikize, ninatokanga naenda. Or someone who will throw a line like, I just make my decisions. When you make a decision, I have made my decision. I'm like, it's okay to make your decision. But did you think it through?
No.
Is it something you made emotionally?
I know.
Or is it a decision you made because you had thought through? So just be keen to look at, yes, God, I feel like this is coming to an end. All right. The reason it is coming to an end is this, this, and this. And of course, prayerfully do it. You're like, all right, so Holy Spirit, from where I stand as a human being, this seems to be the advantages and the disadvantages of continuing or not continuing with this relationship. That will help you determine, is it worth it? Is it necessary to end this? And when you find it is necessary, you pack your bags, anza kujiprepare psychologically, and do this.
Yeah, I know. Pack your bags, keep going. So finally, when you make when you bring things to an end, once you've done now the things we've talked about, considered advantages, disadvantages. When you make that decision to end it, keep to it, end it. Let it stay ended. Is there anything like that? Like, end it.
But let me put it this way. If we end it and I text you, is it wrong?
Yes. Keep it ended.
Yeah.
You've evaluated pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages. Yeah. Like you've gone through all this process, you've evaluated how it will impact your loved ones. If you end it, end it. Stop playing with fire.
Okay.
Because eventually you'll go back. But if you end it, end it. If you don't want to end it,
do not initiate the ending process.
Yes. Don't even look at the pros and cons. Just stay where you are. And
if you're not ready to go.
Yeah, if you're not ready to go, stay.
Don't even do the pros and cons. Imagine staying in a place where you know all the cons are.
Pros and just stay and enjoy to the best that you can enjoy.
You remind me of a friend of ours who used to say, when you leave, do not look back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying it in a mean way, but he was saying in the sense that, going back to the book that you were referring to in the other episode, that if you leave, don't be in a state of limbo in the living process. Like, one day I am leaving and I have told you guys I am leaving, I have resigned. Or you're telling your husband every day, nanitaenda. You're telling your children, namtaenda. Like, if you initiate that process, see it through to the end.
Yes. If you don't mean it, don't start it.
Guys. I'm just tired. This is me evaluating my life and thinking, is there something that I have started ending that has been ending for 3 years?
I know.
Like, could there be something that I have been ending for 6 months now? Whatever needs to end, if you choose to end it, end it. And as far as it is dependent on you, live in peace with the people that you're ending whatever you're ending with.
Nice.
The Lord will guide you.
He will. He always does.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's it. If we do any other episode on necessary endings, you will just find it on the podcast, and it will have number 4 to it.
Yeah, it will have a number 4.
If it will have a number 4 to it.
Yeah.
But for now, let's leave it at that. Keep sharing your feedback. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Talk to us. Send a voice note. Is it a voice note or my text message? Whatever it is.
No,
in the podcast. In the podcast, there's that place where you can send a feedback.
Okay.
So send it.